Hello and welcome back. The fact that you're here watching part 2, I'm assuming you enjoyed part 1, so without any further ado, let's continue. Road positioning. It's important that we understand and remember where we should position ourselves when riding on the road. The best and the safest position is the centre of our lane, known as position 2, but there's many things which cause us to have to change our road position, like bends, junctions, road conditions, dual carriageways, hazards, overtaking, as I mentioned earlier, about the procedure for overtaking a parked vehicle. We should always remember that once we've dealt with any hazard, we then move back to the safety of position 2. Always sacrifice position for safety. We should not ride in the gutter. There's too much debris there, drains, lots of sort of horrible, nasty things which could cause us problems. We should avoid erratic steering and veering across our lane. If you look at a bend, I'm out on the road with a trainee. I'm 6'2", and if I've got a tall trainee in front of me, what I did notice that on the route I tend to use, there's a sharp right-hand bend. Now a trainee is riding in the correct position, position 2. We lean round the bend. Now yes, the bike's in position 2, but his head was level with the white line. So basically I did a bit of calculations and it's about the same height as a van mirror. So if you've got a van coming in the opposite direction, and because the road is narrow and he's a little bit too far to the white line, you can end up in a situation where you're headbutting that mirror. It's dangerous. So it's far safer on a sharp right-hand bend is just move slightly to the left from position 2 to position 1 before we lean into the bend. Then everything us, the bike, the head, is on our side of the road. Important things like that, we should remember. Separation distance. We must understand the importance of leaving sufficient space when following another vehicle. Think about if you're riding too close to a vehicle, that vehicle can stop, can you? By leaving a bit long gap between you and the vehicle in front. Not only can you see the vehicle in front, but you can see ahead to the vehicles in front of that. If everyone's coming to a halt, you see brake lights coming on. I don't want to wait until the vehicle in front of me, I see their brake lights. I want to look at 3 or 4 vehicles down the line. That way I know everyone's going to be coming to a halt. It's about forward planning. And if you're too close to another vehicle, you can't do that. Okay. Also, by becoming a little bit further back from the vehicle in front, you're not riding in their blind spot, as has been discussed earlier. The way I always do it is I use a thing called the 2-second rule, and it's quite easy to do this. And when you're going along the road, you come to a lamp post or a road sign or any fixed article by the side of the road. When the vehicle in front of you reaches that point, you then say, only a fool breaks the 2-second rule. It takes about 2 seconds to actually say that. If you've reached that point by then, you are too close to the vehicle. If that fixed point is still in front of you by the time you've said that rhyme, then you have got a good enough gap in between you. This applies in good road conditions. It should be doubled if it's raining or the roads are wet. It should be 10 times should you be riding in snow or ice. Not that I would advise you to do so. So it's important that we know to keep the distance from the car in front. If you think of stopping distances, at 30 miles an hour, we see brake lights go on. We apply the brake. By the time you've actually got your brakes on, what we call thinking time, you've actually travelled 9 metres. And then it's going to take you 14 metres to stop. So that's 23 metres in total, or 6 car lengths. Take it at 70 miles an hour. By the time you've actually thought about putting your brakes on, you've actually travelled 21 metres. It's then going to take you 75 metres to actually stop. So there's 96 metres, 24 car lengths. So if you're only 20 car lengths behind the vehicle in front, you're going to hit it. You're not going to stop in time. So, do the maths, work it out, and always make sure you leave a good enough gap between you and the vehicle in front of you. Weather conditionings. As bikers, we're affected more by weather than you would be if you're driving in a car. You know, think about the different types of weather. Sun, yeah, we think it's great, nice and sunny, let's get the bike out, go for a ride. But think about in the evening, when the sun's dropping and the sun is low. Yeah, if it's shining at you, it's going to dazzle you. You're not going to have as good vision as you would normally have. But think about it the other way. If the sun's behind you, it's not dazzling us. But if you can see your shadow in front of you, then it's dazzling oncoming traffic. Can they see you? An incident which happened to me, I was going down the road, the sun was behind me, and there was an oncoming tractor. A car then pulled out to overtake the tractor, nearly ran me off the road. Afterwards I realised he couldn't see me, even though I'd got my headlight on, 12 volts. How many volts is the sun, you know, in power? I was invisible to him, so be aware of that. Wind and rain, you know, wind will blow you about, something chronic. Think about the wind caused by a HGV passing you. You know, be aware that is going to make the bike a little bit unstable. When it's wet, we could get cold, the roads will become slippery, the white markings in the road become slippery, drain covers become slippery. So all these things need to be taken into consideration. Fog, yeah, when it's foggy, basically you just can't see very well. Always make sure you've got your dipped headlights on. Don't put them on full beam because the light will just bounce back at you. But fog is basically wet. What you will notice, and that's every 2 seconds, you're having to take a hand off to wipe your visor because you won't be able to see. Ice, snow and sleet. My opinion is just don't go out in them, you know, just be safe. But in all my years of biking, twice I have been caught out when there was no snow forecast, and I've been caught in snow. And you know what, riding in snow, it's the best laxative known to man. You know, it's awful. If you do get caught out, just try to make sure you ride in the freshly dropped snow, not the compacted snow, because with the softer snow, at least you know your tyres have got more chance of actually gripping the road. Always remember and respect the effects of weather can have when we're out riding a motorcycle. There's a little quick saying, if in doubt, don't set out. Road surfaces. We need to be aware how different types of road surfaces can affect our riding. You know, during this element I will discuss mud and leaves. They're going to be slippy. Gravel and chippings, the obvious reasons. Tram and railway lines, you know, they're made of metal, and when metal's wet, it's slippy. The metal studs in roads, as mentioned earlier, road markings, the reason they reflect it is because they're actually made with like a resin paint, and they've got beads of glass in there, and the glass reflects the light. So, you know, think about glass, when it's wet, it's slippy. Potholes and cracks, you know, obvious, they can cause us problems. Drain covers. The shiny surfaces at junctions and roundabouts. Think about how your tyres need replacing after so long. Every time we're braking, we're actually leaving a small thin trace of rubber on the road. So roundabouts and junctions where most vehicles are braking, so therefore that rubber builds up and it does become a little bit shiny. Think about out in the country, you know, going for a ride and you smell where someone's been muck spreading. Ease off your speed because that stuff is really slippy. You know, mud off of the tractor tyres when they're going in and out of the gates of the farms. They're supposed to clean the roads, but not very often do you see that. So, you know, take into consideration all the different types of road surfaces that we will have to deal with. Alcohol and drugs. You are required by law to know that it is a criminal offence to ride with more than the legal level of alcohol in your blood. Now, the legal level is, well, you know what, it ain't even worth mentioning the legal level. In my opinion, there's only one safe level, and that is 0. Just don't drink and drive or ride a motorcycle. I have known a guy who went out for a drink on a night time. He got a taxi home, did the sensible thing. When he got home, there was a voice message on his landline asking him could he go into work. He went into work the following morning. One of his brake lights wasn't working, unbeknown to him. He was breathalyzed and he was over the limit. He's still got a 12-month ban. It just isn't worth it. Alcohol can stay in your system for 2 days. So, be aware of these. And if you're going to go out and ride your bike or drive a car, just make sure you haven't had a drink. It's just not worth it. You get done for drinking and driving, and basically the inconvenience for a year, the risk to others, how it can have an impact on your life, and then your insurance premium is going to rocket through the roof. So just don't do it at all. Drugs, the same thing applies. But also, when I'm referring to drugs, think of prescription drugs. You get quite a few medicines and they will put on the label, don't drive or operate heavy machinery. Well, riding a motorbike is both. It's your responsibility to check with your pharmacist, check with your doctor. Am I okay to ride a motorbike while using these prescriptions? Even over-the-counter medicines, antihistamines, some cough and cold remedies, they will advise you not to do it. Even now, insurance companies actually are looking at sort of testing, and should you have used any of these medicines, it can actually invalidate your insurance. So just don't do it. Attitude. Even your attitude when riding a bike or driving a car can actually affect your safety. If you've had an argument with somebody and you're in a bad mood, is it wise to just get on the motorbike? Because what you're going to do, you're going to be riding erratically. You're going to be hard on the throttle, hard on the brake, because you're angry. You're not safe while doing that. When you're riding, it's important to show patience. If somebody lets you go, nod your head, say thank you. Don't do anything to provoke a situation which could cause an argument. At the end of the day, if you end up chasing down the road, you and another vehicle, especially if that vehicle is a car, should a collision happen, the bike is always going to come worse off. So make sure you ride defensively. So don't ride while upset or angry. Don't ride in the spirit of competition on the road. Don't do anything to give offence or provoke a nasty reaction with anybody. Hazard perception is one of the topics I would discuss with trainees during this element. However, I have done a separate video on hazard perception, so please check that out. Well, I hope this video has been of some interest to you. I don't want it to be where it's just for trainees. If you're an experienced rider, please still look, because some of this stuff you might have forgotten, and it will all help us all ride a little bit more safely on the road. So thank you for watching. This has been the Younger Oldie. Ride safe and bye for now.